music is it?
Music is my medicine. Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I mean, I cannot. I work with music. I drive to music. I eat to music. I mean, music is my life.
Have you ever got to a point where you got tired of making music a certain way?
Yeah, recently. And I go through little periods like that. But as a creative person who's been making music for well over 20 years, 2012 was probably the most creative point in my life, primarily because I used grief. I lost my grandmother, who I was very close to, talking about earlier. Lost her.
Sorry about that.
And she was 91, lived a long life. I had the beauty of her life and the example that she set. But when she would, grief is grief. When you lose somebody, you're still sad. And you're sad that they're gone. But I was in her home when she passed. And during that period of time, I started creating my own music to help soothe that loss or that void that I had, and feed my creativity at the same time. So the music, that was how the New Adventures of Professor Clock was born.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
I noticed that you wasn't doing music, and then you started posting more stuff about music. So I figured something happened, because I create music out of pain. It has to be something.
It has to be something. I mean, and a lot of people write, I mean, the most amazing songs from a breakup or losing somebody or something, because I don't know what it is. It's because you're vulnerable or you, I don't know. But like for me, I just felt like if I created my own music, I love Erykah Badu, but I'm like, Badu, I'm gonna put you on hold for a minute. Like you ain't getting it for me right now. I need to create something else. And I created a sound that I thought that was palatable for my ears and my sonically, that made me feel whole in a sense. And I did that, and that was how Volume 1 began. And then I went through a relationship, and that relationship was crazy. And after that relationship, I created Volume 2, and that was very short. But in that relationship, I went back and I understood now, part of Volume 2, I understood that it was a bigger picture. It was supposed to be a continuation. And then when I finally finished Volume 3, which was very, very dark, the darkest of the three, when I finished Volume 3, I felt this is enough. It was 59 minutes worth of music. It's an hour. It's enough. And
it's enough of the darkness.
No, it was enough. There's a whole volume for me to call it one thing. So yes, a triptych or a trilogy, where it's one thing, but then there was no spinoff because it wasn't. The transition happened, I guess. Whatever lesson I got it was a cyclical thing, and I finally got the lesson, so I didn't go all around and repeat it again. So now if I do something, it's not part of the Professor Clock thing, unless, because ultimately what I want to do with Volume 4 or 5, 6, whatever, if we call it that, would be more of a collaborative project with people where I collaborate with other individuals on new music in that same vein, or I recreate what was so imperfectly perfect. So taking that now 59 minutes worth of music that could be a demo and perfecting that more on the line of a chamber music or something very symphonic where it has lots of the music theory is right, and the quantities, the music's not quantized like it should be in some places. Everything is exactly charted the way it's meant to be, and then maybe sell that. So I have some plans, for that project. One cool thing, I'm not sure if you knew this, but I did have the privilege of taking the New Adventures of Professor Clock and in 2016, which was a real rough period of my life. Emotionally, it's very weird. Just a very weird place in my life. During that summer,
in
2016, it was like, what's going on? This is after. Yeah. This was just a year and a half ago, and what the lesson that I was supposed to learn from that was that faith, not fear. I was supposed to walk in faith the entire year and not worry about, like, okay, you got the birds, you got the bees, you got me too, right? You know, that's how I was thinking. And after I got through it, doors open, everything. But during that period, I was approached by CooperMorgan Dance Theatre, who is a local dance company here in Jacksonville. They've been around for about 15 years. The first African-American studio run by males, or dance company run by males. And they do a summer intensive every year where they, you know, go in just like a regular summer camp, but it's summer camp for dancers. So you've got ballet, contemporary, modern, jazz, point, you know, placement, conditioning. And at the end of the intensive, which is 3 weeks, they do a big concert. In the concert, they approached me and said, you know, we really want to choreograph some music or some pieces to the new version of Professor Clock. And I was like, what? Just blown away. So
you told me about that.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing to see the process, though. I call it movement. So that was what 2016 was. If I gave it a theme, it was movement. Things moved out of the way, and what did it mean? Right. So there was some shifting that occurred. I learned as an artist to respect the craft of other artists, even though, like, for instance, if I'm a composer and multi-instrumentalist and I'm working on this music, they interpreted the music a completely different way. And I could have, you know, if I was this crazy artist, you know, well, I envision y'all turning here and spinning there, and you should have them bend over like that, and, you know, and maybe form a line. You know, that was what I saw in my head, but it wasn't.
You learned to just let it go.
I learned to watch them rehearse, take their ideas and their concepts, and literally just watch their creative process. Because as an artist, I know how it feels to have somebody squelch your creativity. You know what I mean? To come in and try to dictate how they think you should sound, or they think you should, you know, maybe I think you should do this, or even with taste tests, you should put this song on. I appreciate the recommendations, and I try to fit in as much in collaboration or inclusion, include much information as possible. But sometimes you just have to let it be,
right?
You know, and so by doing that, I watched them, and it was about 45 minutes of the 59-minute soundtrack. They performed the whole thing. I wept the whole time. I was bawling. I was crying. And the only thing that was bad about that whole situation was that the video cameras weren't working. So we didn't capture anything. I think there's like little snippets of pieces here and there that is probably buried now in Facebook timeline land somewhere. But no real videography was done. And there are some really good photos that it happened, so we can prove it happened. But, like, imagine that thing being performed at Lincoln Center, you know. So there are plans to sort of revive that, you know. The cool thing about that whole project is that it has evolved, and is the evolution done? I don't feel a nudge to continue it.
You don't feel a nudge to continue promoting it, or?
No, of course I'll promote it, but I think it's not. I don't know. It's like, for me, it's not complete. It's complete but not complete. It's a body of work. It exists in some form, but to me, it is not commercially ready, because it's so electronic and so synthetic. It's not organic enough. There's not a lot of live instruments and everything. So, you know, if I were to reach back and redo it, I would want it to be something very organic, full instrumentation, and the whole nine, and an immersive surround sound experience. You know, that's the goal. That's what I really, really want. Yeah. And I think, you know, I still feel this way, that it's my magnum opus. It's what I was meant to do. On my way, I do other things on the way to that big giant thing.
Right.
You know, but again, back to leaving a legacy.
So you feel like that's your big giant thing?
That's my I think that's my magnum opus.
Mm-hmm.
But so growth. Here's some growth speaking here. So as an artist, when I first started recording, and I would put out stuff, I would just want to you know, let's just record a song and just put it out real fast. You know, not appreciating the time. You gotta, sometimes things, you gotta like let things cook like gumbo. You know, you gotta put it on the stove and just let it just be, and let it happen naturally, instead of rushing things. And even with relationships, you gotta let it be, let it breathe a little bit. The first song on my very first album was called Room to Breathe, and I was starting to get it, but I didn't understand even then what that meant. You made it. Yeah, you didn't get it, you know. Now I'm like, oh, I understand. Like, you know, just like you have a flower, or let's say you planting something. As a gardener would understand, you throw the seed in the ground. You don't put 4 and 5 seeds right next to each other. You give them some space in between so that they can grow independently and organically. So that's how I feel about this project specifically. I've allowed myself time to just chill without forcing the envelope, because you can't really force true creativity. Sometimes there's individuals that can, like, as a matter of fact, I played on yesterday's show the new Prince cut, which was Nothing Compares to You, and it's new to us, but he wrote it in 1984 in an hour. So do I know if he was pressured to go in, like, Prince, go in that room, don't, lock yourself in there and don't come out? No, I don't think that was the case. But with him, he goes in, comes out, and he's got something it's so good. So good. And there's one note in the song where he just, nothing, and he just says it, and it's like, it just breathes. No runs and trills. He just says the note, and it was just so perfect right where it was. And so you got to let things breathe, and you let things happen in their own time. And so that's how I feel like specifically about the Professor Clock project. It'll all in good time.